Welcome to the Healers Café, the #1 show for medical practitioners and holistic healers to have heart-to-heart conversations about their day-to-day lives while sharing their expertise for improving your health and wellness. So welcome to the Healers Café. And today I have with me Alison Bladh, and she's a registered nutritional therapist and also a beauty therapist. So her focus really is women and the whole menopause, pre, during, post, and all the symptoms that many women suffer because they don't know that there are actually options. So I wanted to welcome you, and then yeah, let's dive into that. Actually, before we dive into that subject though, what actually brought you personally into nutrition, the healing field in that sense, or to know that there is something that you can do?
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast today. And in answer to your question, it was two things really. The first thing is when I was a teenager, I developed very bad acne, and it's hard enough being a teenager, isn't it, without having a face full of spots. And even at that age, I was very interested I didn't just want to take medication. I was very interested in, how can I improve my skin through nutrition, through lifestyle, etc. So I started reading and researching into that and really actually made a huge difference in my skin. And that was in the puberty, with hormones. And that also led me into the interest in hormones because it was just fascinating how they affect not just your skin but every aspect really. That's when I became a beauty therapist because I wanted to focus on skin health. And
Mm.
then I very soon became to realize that, okay, aesthetically you can use treatments, you can use products to really improve your skin, but you need that inside piece as well with nutrition. So then I went back to university and studied nutritional science, and that's really what gave me the knowledge and that my love of hormones, that I really wanted to help women that were going through hormonal changes in life. And I remember my mother going through menopause and not really talking about it, and many of her close friends and female family members, and when in that stage, but then people didn't talk about it, and it was just really suffering with hot flushes and headaches and irritability, and it was just kind of brushed under the carpet. And I can remember talking to my mother, and she was just saying, "Oh, well, you just have to get on with it," and that kind of triggered me even more to think, well, why? This is something every single woman will go through, and there is so much that can be done. So it was really those two things that brought me into the holistic, the health arena, which I've been in for over 30 years now.
And so what were the main like misconceptions that you had, either growing up, with your mom, or that your mom had, or that you noticed that the majority of women have about menopause?
I mean, I'm British. I grew up in the United Kingdom. And it was very much a taboo subject,
Right.
which was ridiculous because I think, when we look at menopause, it's not, I'm not saying this is, well, what I think, but a lot of people think of it as, an ending, don't they? It has this shroud of negativity. You're aging as a woman, which we live in a society which, we don't want to talk about that. You become no longer fertile,
Hmm.
and it's these sensitive issues that nobody wants to talk about. And I think also, women as we age, people don't want to talk about aging. We want to remain young forever, which is ridiculous because that isn't how the body works, is it? And I just think that women don't want to talk about it, or nobody wants to talk about it because it has this negativity attached to it,
Hmm.
um, as being, you're suffering, you've got all these horrible symptoms, you may be losing your looks, you're no longer this vibrant woman.
Mm.
Which
So,
is ridiculous. That's no, I'm not absolutely not saying that's what I think, but I think that's what, and even today, it's not, we don't talk about it enough.
mm. But so is the misconception that there's nothing to be done and therefore w- we don't want to talk about aging, we don't want to talk about all this because there's nothing you can individually do to make a difference in your outcome. Is that
I
like, do you
definitely, yeah. I definitely think it's lack of knowledge. And,
yeah.
I work with clients all the time, and the majority or a very high percentage of women don't truly understand what perimenopause, menopause is. So when you come into that perimenopausal phase, on average around the age of 45, can start younger, you don't necessarily react to it. You don't know that these symptoms that I'm having are related to my hormone levels. A lot of women put it down to the fact that they're stressed. You've got children that take a lot of looking after. You've got a busy job. You've got a family, etc. They don't put that down to perimenopause. So I think a lot of it is lack of knowledge, um, and we need also more. I mean, I live in Europe, and there is at the moment a bit of a menopause revolution going on, because women are just sick to death of not being heard. So it's kind of building momentum. And a lot of like healthcare providers and doctors that maybe, haven't had the adequate knowledge that they need in menopause have started to think, oh, hold on a minute. I can't just say to these women, "Oh, this is just a phase you're going through, you'll be all right," because they want help. So things are changing very slowly. But the problem for women as well is finding that support, because there are so many things that you can do. Um, but it's finding the people that can really help you.
Mm. So what are the like, top two or three things that in, let's start with perimenopause, um, eh, that one could look for, and what could they expect as changes if they followed a solution?
Yeah, it's again, it is very individual, but if we look at it more generally,
Yeah,
when you come into perimenopause, this is where things start becoming a bit unbalanced. And if you are starting to have hot flashes as they're called. I think in the US you call them hot flashes, don't you?
I think
Or
so.
yeah, in Europe we call them hot flushes. I just don't want to confuse people. But that is a real typical sign that your hormones are changing
Mhm.
or are imbalanced. If you feel tired all the time or irritable, you wouldn't necessarily put that down to hormonal imbalances. But if you can just feel that things are changing, then that's really when you need to start to talk to a healthcare provider. I mean, I'm not a doctor; I'm a nutritional therapist. But you can talk to a doctor regarding if hormone replacement therapy maybe is something that you want to look at. What I say to people is get all the information in front of you and then you decide. But if you've got the knowledge of what is available to you to help you feel better, then you can decide that option. So hormone replacement therapy, and then, as a nutritional therapist, there's many things that you can do to really enhance your health and to improve your experience through perimenopause.
Yeah, so
Uh,
let's focus on that because I think, with replacement therapy, there's also a lot of side effects that people need to look at. So what can people do naturally if they start to see that they have hot flashes, they're irritable, they're, as you say, overtired, feeling stressed, therefore, what are simple things that, one could consider?
So when it comes to nutrition, what you want to think about is, really to sit down and think, okay, but what does my diet look like? A key thing that we really want to focus on is blood sugar management. So making sure that your blood sugar is stable. And that you can do that quite well by avoiding ultra processed, highly refined sugary foods. They're not beneficial for health. They shoot your blood sugar up. And it's been shown in research if you're eating a high sugar diet, that it can stimulate menopausal symptoms. So, and you can really see that, especially, if you have a glass of wine in the evenings. Glass of wine, you maybe do that to relax, but it affects how you feel. And again, it can really stimulate hot flashes and other menopausal symptoms. So looking at your diet, removing as much as possible these ultra processed foods, eating whole foods. And it doesn't have to be difficult. Think of like vegetables, fruits, meats. If you don't eat meat, soya products, beans, nuts, etc. Buying products, whole products, so you know what they are, and really cooking from scratch. That's a key thing to make us feel better during perimenopause. Ultra processed foods have no nutritional value, or very little. They're just really, really high in ingredients. Some of the ingredients on the packages you can't pronounce them, let alone know what they are. So that's one thing. Avoiding or reducing alcohol is a key thing for menopausal women, because not only can it stimulate menopausal symptoms, it can also affect your sleep. And sleep, again, is something that can really be disrupted during menopause. And if you're not sleeping, you just feel terrible, don't you? It affects everything. So really reducing alcohol, and then looking at eating in balance. And one thing that we don't eat enough of is protein. And we need protein, specifically when we come into menopause or the menopause transition, because we lose muscle mass as women as we age. And we really need protein, not just for muscles, but to keep ourselves strong. A lot of women find when they come into menopause that they start to gain weight, predominantly around the middle area. And when you eat protein, it makes you feel satisfied. So it has an effect on reducing cravings, etc. And then something as simple as drinking water. We all know we should drink water, but do we actually drink enough water daily? Roughly around 8 glasses of water is ideal. If you're very active, then maybe you will need more. But it's eating in balance and eating whole foods. More research always comes back to what we call the Mediterranean style diet, where you're eating a lot of fresh vegetables, fruits, nuts and seeds, all these lovely healthy fats like avocados, olive oil. It's that sort of diet that we should be focusing on, really, rather than just buying packaged foods and fast foods.
What would your life be like if you were pain-free? If you were one of the millions who suffer from chronic pain, the thought of just one day without it may seem impossible. This is often because conventional medicine tends to fall short in the treatment of pain, opting to prescribe pills or recommend surgery rather than getting to the root cause of the problem. But if you are suffering with emotional or physical pain, there is hope. Join the founder and CEO of Bowen College, Manon Bolliger, live online for your body-mind reboot. Learn how to listen to your symptoms and get to the root cause of your pain. Plus, be trained in basic Bowen therapy moves so that you can reboot your body for optimal health. You don't have to live in pain. You can heal. Stop the pain pill cycle by visiting www.yourbodymindreboot.com to learn more and to register.
And have you seen a major change? Let's say that a woman starts, well, they should be doing that long before perimenopause, but let's say you're eating a diet that is aligned with that, are there, changes during menopause or just after menopause that you've seen can really be helpful, like dietary wise?
If they, you mean if they eat that way? How do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt. I mean, I see that I work with clients every day, and I see that if they really change the way they eat and eat more focused on that Mediterranean style diet and remove all of the, the processed refined carbohydrates, you just feel you're more energized. You have more clarity, like mental clarity. The menopause and the decline in hormones can affect our brain, and you can have this kind of foggy feeling, brain fog. You can have problems remembering things, and really focusing on these key nutrients can make a huge difference in cognitive health. And we have to also think of our long-term health as women, because after menopause, when we're in what we call post-menopause, where your body isn't producing, or a very small amount of estrogen and progesterone, we're at higher risk for osteoporosis, for cardiovascular disease. We have more gut issues, things like irritable bowel syndrome and cognitive decline. The research, there's not research to back this up fully yet, but they're looking at a connection between dementia and decline in hormones in women, because there's a much higher percentage of women in the world that suffer from dementia or Alzheimer's than men do. So they're just looking to see if there's some sort of connection there.
And have you found that there's additional foods to take or not take when you're in menopause, when you're in, that period? And how do you define what menopause is, like symptoms wise? How do you identify that, oh, I'm in menopause?
Yeah, again, it's very individual. But when you come into like the first stage of menopause, which is perimenopause, roughly around the age of 45, you can, like I was saying, hot flush. That is a very good sign that you were most likely coming into perimenopause. Things like, you all of a sudden have this brain fog, irritability. You maybe weren't an irritable person, but all of a sudden you have no, tolerance for anything. Itchy skin as well, that can be a sign. There's actually over 40 different symptoms for menopause, and it shows itself in so many different ways. But when you've come through perimenopause, the next phase is menopause, and that really is when you haven't had a period for a year. So you haven't menstruated for a year. Then you are what we call in menopause, and that basically means that your ovaries are no longer producing estrogen and progesterone, and then you're in postmenopause, which is all the time. It's the rest of your life as a woman, and we're living much longer, so it can be the next 30 years really of your life.
And what do you recommend? Because also sometimes sexuality is impacted. Now that can come from if you're in a male-female relationship, from the man too. But have you or do you have recommendations on that level? Because I know that when I was in practice, that was one of the biggest questions I had is, how do you keep everything alive and well? And so I won't tell you what people often said, but I'll ask you first. I'll get back
Yeah,
to
I get asked that as well quite often, and it does affect your relationship. Not everybody, of course, but there's many factors that come into play here. I think as we age as women, we become more confident. We kind of look back on our lives and think, what did I do? I want to do this. I want to do that. What am I doing in this relationship? I don't want to be here anymore. There's so many questions that come up. But when we look at the lack of libido, due to many factors, but one of them is the decline in hormones. Testosterone, which women also have, gradually decreases with it. Testosterone isn't just to do with menopause. It decreases as we age in women, and this is important for libido, as amongst other hormones. So, you know, looking at certain products or areas that can help you. For example, if you're suffering from vaginal dryness, which is very common in women as we come into menopause, you know, and if you've got vaginal dryness and it's painful having sex, then you're not really going to want to be intimate with your partner. But there's so many things that you can do for that that are very easy and very effective. You know, looking from a holistic point of view, there's actually something called omega-7, sea buckthorn, and that helps to keep our mucous membranes lubricated. You know, because it's not just the vaginal area that can dry out. It's the eyes, you know, the nose, the mouth, all those, like what we call mucous membranes, can become very dry and irritable. And using omega-7, it's a supplement that you would take, can actually be very beneficial. And also, you know, making sure you're eating healthy fats in your diet and hydrating is beneficial for that. But I think it's important to sit down with your partner and talk about it as well, and, you know, say that this is what is happening. I'm going through this phase in my life, and, you know, it's not that I don't want to be intimate with you, but I have these issues, because it's always better to talk, isn't it, and discuss these things.
Definitely, yeah. And also with discussion, then you can, you know, suggest that they say if you don't use it, you'll lose it. So
Exactly.
so it's like finding a way in which that is made possible with a little more, you know, gentleness, kindness, and, you know, workaround.
Imagination.
Imagination. Which can be very educating. So,
Exactly.
hmm. So what I was going to say, what other points have we not hit on yet that you have come across or you've seen, you know, women suffer during this period that, you know, could be done differently? Is there anything else that I mean, we've talked about generally health, which is huge. Is there anything else that you've come across?
A big piece for me that I tend to, when I work with clients, is what we focus on first, because it has such a huge impact on the way that you feel during menopause, is stress management. And you know, I know everybody's talking about stress, aren't they, at the moment, and stress management, but it really is a key thing in hormonal health. So looking at your life and thinking, you know, how can I reduce stress, will have a huge impact on the way that you feel during perimenopause and menopause. Because of when we're chronically stressed, which seems that a lot of people are in society these days, you know, it triggers off hormone release in the body, which has, you know, negative effects if this is continually happening. And it can again make menopausal symptoms worse. It can stop you sleeping. It can cause weight gain. You know, the stress is so detrimental for our long-term health. So I always, what I do with my clients is a stress audit, where we sit down and look at, you know, their daily life and think, what can we do, even if it's just 5 minutes here and there, to relieve some of that stress in your life. Because if you can't control or manage your stress to a level, it's very difficult to put other pieces in place. It really is, to get that result that you need.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's just also taking that time, you know, to honor oneself, even to look at what are we saying yes to and what are we not saying no to, you know. can really have a big impact on stress, just to become very conscious about each step that we're taking, for sure. I was looking in your on your website, which is your full name, Alison Bladh. .com, you have a section, if you put /resources. So would that be a good place to start for people who are, or women who are interested in looking what's available, or how do people potentially work with you or find out more? I know you're in England, right? In England itself, right?
Yes. No,
Yeah.
I'm actually sorry. So I live at the moment just outside Stockholm in Sweden.
Oh, okay, you're in Sweden right now. Okay.
But I work with clients worldwide, so I
Right.
have clients from all over. The best way, like you were saying on my resources, the resources page has many free downloads, like ebooks with recipes and nutritional advice for specific, if you want to improve your skin or you want to lose weight, all of those things that you can actually find it there on the resources page. But my blog, that has a lot of information on many different subjects. So that's actually good if anyone wants to go there and read then. And then, you can get in touch with me via my website. You can email me. I'm on virtually every social media platform. So I'm very easy to get in touch with. If you just put the name in Alison Bladh, you'll find me there. But I'm more than happy if any of your listeners have questions they want to ask me or want any more advice, please feel free to contact me.
Okay, great. All right, so our time is is coming to a close. Any last words that you wanted to share?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that when we think of menopause, this is a transition in a woman's life, and every woman will go through this. So even though you might be feeling that you're having symptoms and everything, just try to embrace it with a positive attitude, because we should never regret aging. We should never regret becoming older, because it is actually a privilege that is denied to many people.
Yeah, very good point. All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing your wisdom and knowledge.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for joining us at the Healers Café. If you haven't already done so, please like, comment, and subscribe with notifications on, as I post a new podcast every Wednesday with tons of useful information and tips for natural healing that you won't want to miss.